In 2016, Teeka Tiwari caught crypto's first massive wave of profits, giving his readers a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $367,000, $534,000, and even $1.5 million. In 2019, Teeka caught crypto's second massive wave of profits, giving his readers a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $49,000, $59,000, and even $851,000. Now, if you missed out on those gains, listen up. Because some of the biggest players on Wall Street are launching a new crypto venture by the end of the year. And Teeka believes this event will help unleash a new $100 trillion opportunity, kicking off crypto's third wave and sending Teeka's top 5 coins for this next wave higher than anyone can imagine. This is your third and perhaps final chance to turn a handful of $1,000 investments into generational wealth. Welcome to Crypto's Third Wave. Hello, everybody. I'm John Burke, and I'll be your host for this special event, and I'm here with Teeka Tiwari. Now, he's the man who has given more people the chance to transform their finances than anyone in our industry. He has picked 27 coins that have jumped by more than 1,000% and was voted the most trusted crypto expert by a panel of 130,000 independent analysts. And tonight, he's going to reveal his next big crypto opportunity. Teeka Tiwari, good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be here, John, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I believe we're moments away from what I'm calling crypto's third wave, as you can see behind me. And, you know, what's at stake, John, is really nothing less than generational wealth. I'm talking about the opportunity to, yes, secure your own financial future in your lifetime, but also to build a nest egg large enough to secure the future of your children and maybe even their children. So wealth that can transport beyond your lifetime. That is what is truly at stake right now. Now, here's the reality. Most people, unfortunately, are going to miss out on crypto's third wave for many of the same reasons why they missed out on the previous 2 waves.
What makes you say that?
You know, human nature, because these massive waves of profits always involve a new crypto trend that most people have never heard of. And so they're uncomfortable getting involved in something that's really new. So these crypto trends that I research are so new that the media, you know, they don't understand them. They don't even have a frame of reference for talking about them, but most of the time they don't even know about them. So they're either silent about it or they say it's nonsense and they completely dismiss it. And human nature being what it is, if the guy on the TV tells you that it's not a good thing, you don't buy it.
Right.
And so that's why most people end up missing these opportunities. So, you know, I'm here tonight to really talk to those folks that have said, look, I've had enough. I saw you make all this money on the first round. I saw you make all this money on the second round. Everybody's been telling me that I'm an idiot for even thinking about crypto, and they're wrong, and you've been right. So, you know, what do you have to say, Tiwari, this third time around? So, friends, what I have to say is that I believe this next big trend in crypto will be the biggest we've ever seen. And we don't have much time to act. You see, some of the biggest players on Wall Street are launching a new crypto venture by the end of this year. And I believe it's this event will kick off what I'm calling crypto's third wave. I believe that this event will give my readers, you, the third and perhaps the last chance to turn a handful of small investments, $1,000 investments, into the kind of wealth that can transport itself through time. Just like what happened during the past 2 waves that my readers were a part of.
You know, if this is really happening by the end of the year, as you said, that's right around the corner, Teeka. I mean, we could just have a few days to prepare.
Yeah, and the thing with crypto, I mean, it moves fast, right? So we could have less than 24 hours. I want you to think about this, John. You know, these big Wall Street players, They're already announced that they're pulling the trigger by the end of the year. But in reality, it could be as soon as tomorrow morning. I'm good, but I don't have a crystal ball, right? I don't have an insight into, what the guy's doing tomorrow. But within this time frame, between now and the end of the year, it's happening. So, when I say big plays, what does that mean, right? I'm talking about who's who on Wall Street. So let's look at who really dominates Wall Street. Charles Schwab, Fidelity, right? Two of the largest brokers in the United States. Combined, they have more than $11 trillion in management. They have 77 million active brokerage accounts.
Okay, so even though they're not a crypto broker, they are directly involved in this event?
Directly. And
Wow.
they're not the only ones. Have you heard of Sequoia Capital? I'm sure you have, being from the West Coast.
Yeah, big venture capital firm.
Right, correct. So the Wall Street Journal has called Sequoia Capital the most consistent money-making venture capital firm in history. Why? Because these are the guys that provided early-stage capital to Google, Apple, Cisco, Instagram, PayPal, YouTube, Airbnb. When it comes to new tech and backstopping new tech with money that results in massive gains, I don't know anyone that beats Sequoia. So why am I bringing them up? Because they're backing this new crypto venture. So is Citadel Securities. Now, Citadel Securities is a new name to a lot of folks, but they've been around for a while. They're one of the largest hedge funds in the world. In 2022, they made $16 billion in profit. In profit for themselves. They became the most successful hedge fund ever. One of their executives is literally leading the launch of this new crypto venture. John, when I tell you that this is going to be a game changer, it's going to be a game changer beyond anybody realizes. And you know what? Here's the thing. Just like in Crypto Wave 1 and Crypto Wave 2, no one is talking about it.
And it's amazing, too, because those are really big names. So you weren't joking when you said that the who's who on Wall Street is behind this crypto event. And listen, TK, we've done quite a few events like this. So I know you like to keep the suspense going. That's kind of your vibe. But I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I'm ahead of the game here for once.
Okay.
You're talking about the SEC finally approving a Bitcoin ETF, aren't you?
That is a very important thing that's going to happen. And it's a great guess. But what I'm talking about is something that no one is talking about. Like if we think about that ETF, everyone's talking about that right now, right?
Right.
So remember what I said a few moments ago, these massive crypto waves, they always involve a new crypto trend that very few people understand or the media is even talking about. So it's no different this time around. So the approval of a Bitcoin ETF is very important, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something far bigger than that. I'm talking about a trend that could be 150 times bigger than an ETF.
Okay, now you just blew my mind. Okay, 150 times bigger than a Bitcoin ETF approval. I've been reading that an ETF approval would be a game changer for crypto. So how is that even possible, 150 times?
Okay, so think about it like this. The ETF approval only impacts Bitcoin, right?
Right.
Bitcoin has a market cap of about $700 billion, give or take.
Okay.
What I'm talking about impacts everything. It's an order of magnitude larger. According to my research, which I will explain tonight, this third wave of crypto adoption could be $100 trillion opportunity.
Trillion. You said 100 trillion with a T. Did you mean that?
I know it sounds nuts, but yes, $100 trillion opportunity. It's almost 150 times bigger than Bitcoin's entire market cap. It's almost 4 times bigger than the entire US economy. So this is why I'm saying that this third wave, I believe, could be crypto's biggest trend ever. Again, bigger than the first crypto wave that started in 2016 when my readers had a chance to turn $1,000 into crazy numbers. $367,000, $534,000, $1.5 million. This could be bigger than the second crypto wave in 19, when my readers had a chance to take $1,000, put it into 49, 59,000, 851,000. Much bigger than all of those.
I tell you what, if you're right about us getting a third chance, a third crypto wave, it's very exciting. And this is why I say this, because I've been to a legacy conference where I actually personally met some of your readers, and these people had acted on the last two crypto waves, and their rags to riches stories, they were awesome. They blew me away. For example, one of your readers came up to me and told me that he had become a millionaire just by starting with a handful of $100 investments. We're not talking $1,000. He took a handful of $100 bills and turned it into $1 million. I mean, there were people that said that they paid off their mortgage. Others put their kids through college. I know another one who said to me that he used crypto profits to buy his house in Florida. And there were just so many of these stories. It was so exciting. So, hey, can't wait to hear the details of this new opportunity. But let me ask you this, because, well, now you got me curious. If it's not an ETF approval, then what the heck is it? I mean, what could possibly be 150 times bigger than that?
Well, that's why we're here tonight. I promise that I'm going to explain everything tonight because, again, the sad thing is, just like in those first two crypto waves, most people don't know what's happening. And they're looking at CNBC or they're looking at blogs online, trying to find, what that big trend is going to be. But most everyday folks are in the dark because the research out there just isn't on par with what we've been doing for the last 7 years in this space. Here's what's happening. The biggest banks on Wall Street are literally betting their future on this new crypto trend that I'm going to discuss tonight. I'm going to put some names on the screen, and I want everybody at home to take a look at this list. The third largest bank in America, Citibank. The largest bank in America, JP Morgan. Two of the largest European banks, UBS and Deutsche Bank. The most prestigious investment bank on Wall Street, Goldman Sachs. Franklin Templeton, one of the world's largest asset managers with $1.4 trillion in assets. All of them are getting involved in crypto's third wave. So is BNY Mellon. They're the world's largest custodian. They have $46 trillion in assets under management. BlackRock, the world's largest active asset manager, an institution so powerful that Bloomberg once called it the fourth branch of government. John, as you can see, these are the firms that literally run Wall Street, and they're all in on this new crypto trend. Do you know why?
No, I don't. Why?
Because this new crypto trend is set to change everything in the markets. It's set to change stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, commodities. It's gonna remake everything.
Okay, so that's fascinating. What you're saying is that this whole thing goes beyond just the crypto market.
Well, yeah, exactly. It has to because it's so large. It's a $100 trillion trend.
Okay.
I believe it's going to transform the financial markets. I believe it will impact every single 401k in this country, every single retirement account in this country. I believe it will even change the way that we interact with our checking account and our savings account, no matter where you bank. Now, you can just say, oh, okay, Tawari, what credibility do you have to say to talk about
Yeah.
this stuff? I think I've got a little bit of credibility in this space, but let's look at a guy who is actually deep into the establishment. So Tom Farley, he's the former president of the New York Stock Exchange. He says that this new technology trend will rewire all, A-L-L, all financial services. Take a listen to what the CEO of BlackRock says, Larry Fink. He says this new crypto trend, this third wave that we're talking about tonight, will trigger the next generation for markets. Not market, single, markets, all markets. John, this is coming from the head of the largest, most powerful asset management firm in the world with almost $10 trillion in assets.
Yeah, but I'm laughing aside because isn't this the same Larry Fink that was bashing Bitcoin just a few years ago?
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious. Right, in 2017, when Bitcoin was trading at $6,000, okay, he comes out and he says, Bitcoin is only good for drug dealers and only good for money laundering. But, okay, so I laughed when he said it at that time because I knew in a few years he was going to have to reverse himself. You see, John, these Wall Street bankers are all the same. They only care about one thing. We know what that is. It's not about making the world a better place.
No, it's money, isn't it?
It's money. They pray at the altar of the God of money. It's all they care about. So you want to know what made them change their minds? Just wave $100 trillion stack of cash in front of their faces, and they're going to change their minds very quickly. And that's what's going on across Wall Street. I call it Wall Street greed. You follow Wall Street greed and you can't help but make money. And because of their own greed, they are embracing this new trend in crypto like never before. Friends, I want you to pay very special attention to what I'm about to say next. Even though nobody is talking about this new crypto trend yet, it has triggered a frenzy among all the big banks on Wall Street. They all want a piece of this coming $100 trillion pie. That's why the Wall Street Journal called it an arms race. And they said few banks want to run the risk of being left out of this trend. I'm going to say this as plainly and as clearly as I can. If you choose not to act today, I can virtually guarantee you that you will be left out of this third crypto wave. These greedy men and women that run Wall Street will take home every cent of profit for themselves and leave you nothing. You won't even get the table scraps. And nobody will tell you about this except the information that I'm sharing with you tonight. Because if you miss this wave, I don't think you're going to see an opportunity like this again. Remember, the big players on Wall Street are getting ready to pull the trigger on this big catalyst by the end of the year. Now, how do I know that? Because they've confirmed that this is happening by year end. So again, this is not a guess. It's not a prediction. And just like in wave one, and just like I said in wave two, if you wait, you're going to be left out. Those gains will evaporate without you. And that's why I wanted you to be here tonight. It's why John and I are here tonight. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you all the details on this third crypto wave. I'm going to explain to you how it's going to unfold. I'm going to reveal what this new $100 trillion opportunity is. But most importantly, I'm going to discuss my top 5 coins that can position you to profit from this next third wave. I'll even give you the name and ticker symbol of one of those coins for free. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe to any of my services. I'm not going to ask for your credit card or make you jump through any crazy hoops. I'm just going to give you the name, no strings attached.
That is good stuff right there, Tika. Folks, we are just getting started here. Tika is going to give you this free pick in just a moment. And that means that you're going to walk away from tonight's event with an actionable idea that will give you a chance to profit from this new $100 trillion trend. That, of course, is coming up in just a moment. And, of course, later on in the broadcast, we'll also have a Q&A where you'll get to ask Tika your questions. You can see that box on your right. Just type in your questions in that box, and then later on, we'll try to answer as many as possible. Now, Tika, before we talk about crypto's third wave, I want to ask you about the last 2 waves. Now, you said something earlier that really kind of caught my attention. You said that most people miss these waves because they involve a new trend in crypto, something so new that most people just sort of, it's a fad, I'm not in. So what was the first crypto wave? I think you said it happened in 2016, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, right. So when I first heard about Bitcoin in 2011, do you think I immediately recommended it to my readers?
No.
No, because I made the same mistake that so many people have made with crypto. I thought it was a fraud and literally thought it was a Ponzi scheme. I said, this just doesn't make any sense to me. So we've got a bunch of guys with computers solving complicated mathematical puzzles, and they're kind of like this mental game of mining magic internet money. I mean,
Right.
It just sounded dumb,
Right.
I was supposed to believe that had any value. It just seemed ridiculous to me.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I thought, I don't know, it's a scam.
Right. Most people did. It was the rational thing to believe at the time. So in 2013, I watched Bitcoin go from around, I think it was $5, went up to 1,100, maybe as high as 1,400. And again, I was like, okay, so we're in the tulip bulb beanie baby craze of the trend, and it'll collapse. So when Bitcoin started to crash in 2014, I said, okay, so I was right. I called this correct. I thought it would run and then fall apart. But then something really interesting happened. You see, I've been on Wall Street since 1989, and in the financial world since 89. I bought my first stock in the early 80s. So I've been in finance a long time. I've seen many, many frauds. When something is a fraud, it doesn't have value. It goes to zero, right? Because it just doesn't have value. Bernie Madoff, his whole business was a fraud. It went to zero. Enron had assets, but they were fraudulently inflated. Ultimately, the equity went to zero. WorldCom, the equity, the stock, went to zero. Frauds go to zero because they don't have value. Here was something that was different with Bitcoin. It crashed, but it didn't go to zero. And it was like a splinter in my mind. It dropped to $200. Even after that massive crash, it had a market cap of $3 billion. And I sat there and I was thinking, okay, Tawari, you're missing something, because frauds aren't worth $3 billion when they crash. They're worth nothing. So I spent months educating myself. I was researching cryptos. I went to crypto conferences. I started talking to developers. I started talking to early adopters of Bitcoin. And in early 2016, a light bulb went off in my mind. I finally understood the value proposition of Bitcoin and the value proposition of the Bitcoin. I understood why it had value. Now, as I was coming to this epiphany, I remember seeing a headline from the Financial Times around that same time. It said, Bitcoin's place in the long history of pyramid schemes. Now, picture this. I come into my publisher's office here in Florida, wild-eyed, saying, I'm going to recommend Bitcoin. You don't understand. This thing is incredibly cheap. It's $400. It's going to at least 40,000.
Yeah.
John, what kind of pushback do you think I got?
Yeah, this guy's insane. This Tawari guy is insane.
Right. They're like, what happened to this, former Wall Street, conservative guy who at the time was writing the most conservative newsletter, Income and Blue Chips? Has he gone nuts? So they said to me that I was being irresponsible for wanting to recommend what they called magic internet money. And I said, look, no problem. I'll leave today and I will start up my own newsletter. I'm going to write about crypto. I don't care whether you want me to write about crypto or not. I'm writing about it. Now, of course, in the face of that, fortunately, they blinked and they let me write about crypto.
What a story. Well, listen, I'm glad they blinked, because I know you recommended Bitcoin in 2016 at around $400. It's amazing it was ever $400 at this point, isn't it? Anyone who listened to you had a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $147,000. So that was the first wave, is what you're saying, Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin was the first crypto, but the real massive wave of profits, and the thing that really I pat myself on the back for understanding, was the emergence of these early stage altcoins. So these were coins that were smaller than Bitcoin. Many of them were trying to compete with Bitcoin, but others were doing completely new things with blockchain technology. And at the time, they were trading for pennies. Some were trading for less than a penny. And so, again, unlike Bitcoin, they weren't necessarily trying to be a store of value. What they were doing was creating new applications for blockchain technology, like smart contracts. And because they were so cheap and they were so tiny, and I mean, some of them had market caps of $5 million, $30 million, I knew that if you invested in a handful of the right altcoins, it would be like turning back the clock and buying Bitcoin when it had a $30 million market cap or a $100 million market cap.
Interesting.
So the first altcoin I recommended was Ethereum. Now, John, remember what I said about those waves, right? They involve a new trend no one's talking about. Take a look at what I wrote in 2016. This is what I wrote. If you missed out on the astronomical gains with Bitcoin, here's your second chance with Ethereum. No one outside of the tech world knows about it. It's still relatively unknown. When Ethereum goes mainstream, I think it'll go higher than Bitcoin.
Yep, I've seen that report from 2016. Nobody was talking about Ethereum back then. But in that report, you actually called Ethereum the next Bitcoin. And you said Ethereum would jump almost 13,000%. You said that. I mean, that call right there, what's the word I'm looking for right now?
I think bananas insane. That's the word you're looking for.
That works. Bananas insane. It did seem bananas insane. There's just no other way to put it. I mean, here's the thing. Ethereum had just gone from 43 cents to $9. And there you were, saying it would actually go higher than $1,100 a coin.
Yeah, many people at the time, John, really thought that I was, I'll use the nice word. They thought I was delusional, right? But here's the thing. I'm not an idiot. I do my research and I take my responsibility to my reader really, really seriously. So I did my homework. I even interviewed and met with the co-creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin. I also met other insiders of the Ethereum ecosystem. You can see a picture of me and Vitalik on the screen. And yes, Ethereum had already gone up almost 2,000%. But after I studied the project, I said, you know what? This thing is really undervalued. And I said, these guys are creating a platform that will allow other developers to roll out their own blockchain applications. And to me, it reminded me of what Microsoft had done with their operating system in the late 80s, early 90s. And I said, you know what? This is the Microsoft of the blockchain space. And this thing is crazy undervalued. Remember, John, this altcoin trend was so new that almost no one believed it was real. Some people in the media were calling altcoin snake oil, pump and dump skins. And it's true. There was a lot of that going on. But I knew if you had the right research methodology, which we had, there was absolute gold there.
All that talk, all that noise, that didn't stop you from recommending Ethereum, did it?
No, it didn't. Because again, one of the key lessons I learned from being involved in the market, especially with tech so long, is that rather than listening to what people are saying, you've got to look at what the smart money is doing. And at that same time, even though the media was bashing crypto, every crypto event I was going to, there was somebody from Wall Street attending these events, right? So Wall Street was getting ready to dip their toes into the market. I was meeting people from JP Morgan in Texas. I was meeting people from other banks, which I can't mention, in New York, at crypto events. So I said, okay, something's happening here. In 2015, the company Digital Currency Group, they launched the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So this was the first time in Bitcoin's history that anyone could invest in Bitcoin through a public vehicle. And it opened the doors to institutional investors, hedge funds, mutual funds, pension plans, 401ks, people that wanted to get exposure to Bitcoin but were not able to own it directly. Now, at the same time, we saw Coinbase open the first regulated Bitcoin exchange in the United States. And then we also saw regulators recognize Bitcoin as a commodity. And so I put all these different pieces together and I'm like, with all this new money coming in, Ethereum had to explode in price. And I knew it would mint countless millionaires.
And listen, you were spot on, my friend. Anyone who listened to you and invested just $1,000 had the chance to walk away with more than $500,000 from this Ethereum trade. That's just unbelievable. And you didn't stop there, did you? You didn't stop with Ethereum. I know you recommended several other altcoins after that.
Right. We put together a list of a handful of coins. And that's the beauty of these crypto waves, because they present multiple opportunities. Again, you don't need to be rich to get rich in crypto. We were able to take small stakes of money and turn them into more money than people have ever seen from the financial markets. I'm going to give you another example. This is from 2017. The CEO of the largest bank in America called Bitcoin a fraud. He said, it's worse than tulip bulbs. It won't end well. Someone's going to get killed. He also called anyone who traded Bitcoin stupid. So this is what he was saying very publicly. But what was his firm doing? Remember I said, don't look at what they say, look at what they do. Behind the scenes, JP Morgan was one of the biggest buyers of Bitcoin. Now, they tried to do it in secrecy. They did it overseas. They did it in London, but they got caught. They were caught red-handed investing in Bitcoin.
Unbelievable.
So here we had a new crypto trend with these altcoins. All you heard in the media was that it wasn't real, that crypto was a fraud. But then I saw Wall Street was actually putting money into crypto, getting involved. I knew that the industry would grow. So I recommended another project called Binance, which they've been in the news recently. At the time, their coin was trading at less than $2. Here's what I wrote. Binance is a crypto-only trading exchange. Whether one coin or another fails, it doesn't matter. Binance benefits from the overall growth of the industry. Binance uses 20% of its quarterly profit to buy back its tokens. It then destroys those tokens. That means they go out of circulation and the value of the remaining tokens go up.
So what happened? Did it go up?
Oh boy, did it go up. It exploded higher than anyone could have imagined. Take a look. Anyone who listened to me on Binance had a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $367,000.
Just wow. So Tika, what you're saying is that we shouldn't listen to what the media is saying because these trends are so new that they barely even understand it. Instead, you should watch what the smart money is doing and then just follow the money.
Right, exactly. You want to follow the money and you want to do it rationally. So, for example, in early 2017, the Financial Times came out and said altcoins were just a fad. They called it a speculative frenzy. Now, John, that's one of the most respected financial newspapers in the world. So if they're calling this new trend a fad, what's the rational thing to do? Do you go and buy altcoins or do you just avoid it like the plague?
Well, if you're just listening to the media, that's what you do. You avoid it like the plague.
Right, and that's what most people did. But what people failed to understand is that many of these coins had real-world applications. And because they were so cheap, you didn't need to own a lot or risk a lot of money to make a lot of money. I'll give you an example. Back in 2017, I recommended a coin. This was during crypto's first wave. At the time, it was trading for 13 cents and no one was talking about it. You couldn't find a single article from the media talking about this coin, but I had done my research. I had spoken to the developers. I knew this coin had the potential to compete with Ethereum because it also had a smart contract platform, but it was geared towards the Asian market rather than the Western market. This is what I wrote in early 2017. This isn't a traditional cryptocurrency in the sense that it's simply a store of monetary value like Bitcoin. It's more like an operating system for the blockchain. It has much broader functionality. In that regard, it's very similar to Ethereum. It's getting ready to explode higher. If we're right, it could be the biggest crypto winner we've ever had. Now, John, that's exactly what I wrote. Now, even though our research was telling us the gains could be massive, what happened next even shocked me. Take a look. Anyone who listened to me had a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $1.5 million in less than 1 year.
I don't know how many times I have to say this, but that's just mind-blowing. You called it again, Tika. This coin that nobody was talking about became your biggest crypto winner, just like you predicted. It's unbelievable. $1.5 million. That is your ticket to retirement right there. You know, it's interesting. The other day, I read a recent survey saying that Americans need about $1.3 million to retire, but the average person only has less than $90,000 saved. I mean, that's terrifying. That's a huge gap.
It's an enormous gap, and you're never going to bridge that gap with stocks. I don't care what stock you're buying. You could have bought NVIDIA 10 years ago and still not going to bridge that gap. You can invest in the best companies out there. You can have Warren Buffett picking stocks for you. But you're never going to turn $1,000 into $1.5 million in less than a year in the stock market. It's not going to happen. Those kind of gains, which admittedly are very rare and very difficult to conjure up, they are only possible when you catch a crypto wave. And again, let me repeat, John, even for cryptos, that kind of gain, it's not normal.
So it's not normal. It's not normal to see these massive gains like we're talking about.
No, absolutely not. Anybody that tells you that it is, they're either lying to you or they're lying to themselves. Right? Friends, if you want to get those kind of gains, it's only possible if you catch one of these game-changing waves of capital that come into the market. It's only possible if you get in on a new crypto trend very, very early, just like we did with altcoins. Let me repeat that. These waves are rare. But when you catch one of these waves, it can completely transform your finances faster than any other asset you've ever loaned. John, I want you to take a look at some of the best altcoins I recommended during that first crypto wave. My readers had multiple chances to make 10 times their money, 50 times their money. 150 times their money or more.
Okay, so these are all official recommendations. Again, mind-blowing. No wonder some of your readers said that they got rich from that first wave. As a matter of fact, you know what I want to do? I want to play a short clip from one of Tika's readers. Now, she recorded this right after that first wave. Check this out.
Tika, I can't stop smiling. I just added up our crypto account balances, and because of you, the total is over $1 million. You've turned our starter egg of $12,000 into $1.2 million in a little over a year and a half. Wow, how is that possible? Thank you seems insufficient. You have sent my entire investing retirement goal into warp speed.
That's BJ. Now, she had fallen into some hard times and had lost all hope for having a comfortable retirement. But she was able to catch up because she took advantage of that first crypto wave. Tika, it's absolutely amazing.
It is amazing. And I smile like an idiot because this is amazing. Where do we have, as individuals, if you're not hyper-connected or not already rich, the opportunity to transform your life like that without starting with a lot of money? Like it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
And I want you to think back to that time in 2017. All we heard from the media was, crypto's a scam, stay away. But BJ had decided to say, okay, let me read this guy's research. Let me see what he's actually saying. Let me not dismiss it out of hand. And she understood, this was the brilliance of her, is that she understood that if you catch a new crypto trend and you catch it early and you take a handful of small bets, you can close the financial gap between where you are right now and where you've always wanted to be. And you can do it easier and faster and, dare I say, safer, because you don't have to risk much, than any other asset in the history of finance. And I say safer, not because these things aren't volatile, they are, but because they are so volatile to the upside, you can start with a very small stake. We've had people start with $100, $200, $500, $1,000. That's how she became a millionaire without putting her current lifestyle at risk.
Guys, I'm just so happy for her. But like you said earlier, most people missed that first crypto wave. So let me ask you this. You believe we're about to see another wave just like that with multiple opportunities, do you?
I do. And let me be very clear. I'm going to speak to everybody at home. Friends, can I guarantee you that this third wave will produce the same type of results we saw in wave 1 and wave 2? No, I can't. Can I guarantee that the 5 coins I'll discuss today will turn you into a millionaire like what happened with BJ? Absolutely not. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I can guarantee that. I can't. As I've said, every single time that I've come in front of these cameras since 2016, when I recommend every single one of those altcoins, I have always said the same thing. I can't guarantee results. What I can guarantee you is that I'm going to do everything in my power to put you in the position to change your financial life without putting your current lifestyle at risk. I can say that because I've done that again and again and again and again and again. And I believe I'm going to do it one more time right now with crypto's third wave.
I think everybody understands what you're saying there. And I know that in just a moment, you're going to reveal the name of one of those coins. It's very exciting. And Tika, just to be clear, this free pick will give everyone here tonight the chance to profit from this new $100 trillion trend, correct?
Right. This coin I'm going to give away is playing a key role in this trend. I've actually already recommended it in the past to some of my readers, and they're already up more than 1,000%. Now, friends, you might be thinking, whoa, Tawari, you're giving me a coin that's already up 1,000%? This doesn't sound too exciting. Hear me out for a second. Remember when I recommended Ethereum back in 2016? It had already risen 2,000% when I first recommended it. And it still turned $1,000 into as much as $500,000. So let me tell you, this coin that I'm going to reveal tonight, I believe is going to go much, much, much higher. So it is not too late to get in.
That is super exciting. But before we get into that free pick, let's talk about the second wave for a second, Tegan. Now, the first wave was all about altcoins. So what was the second wave all about?
Okay, so the second wave was crazy because the second wave didn't kick off until 2018, and we were already in the bear market. Nobody wanted to hear about crypto. But we were still in the trenches, doing our research, going to events, looking for what that next massive trend would be. And so what we discovered was that some developers had this genius idea of offering payouts as an incentive for people to adopt their coins. Because the more people who adopt a coin, the more valuable the project becomes.
Okay, so when you use that word payouts, you're talking about coins that pay dividends?
I don't like to use the word dividend, but because it's not really a dividend, but let's for a second just say that it's similar to a dividend.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't exactly work like a dividend because these payouts aren't paid in dollars, they're paid in crypto. So when the price of the crypto goes up, you not only make capital gains, but the income you're collecting can go up exponentially as well because they pay you in more of the underlying crypto. So, John, at the time, think about this concept. It's still new to a lot of people, but back in 2018, no one had heard of this. Well, hold on a second. So imagine this. Okay, Tawari, you're telling me that I buy a crypto and just by holding it, they're going to pay me? Can you imagine explaining that in 2018?
It's downright irresponsible.
Right. Well, that's what my publisher said in 2018. They didn't want me to write about it. My publisher, the marketing team, they said to me, look, Tawari, the everyday person, they're not going to believe it. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to get it. They're not going to be able to wrap their head around it, and they're going to dismiss it. And they said to me point blank, this is not going to sell. It is not a commercially viable product. Friends, let me be very clear, okay? I got a boatload of money already. I'm never going to put what marketing says to me ahead of what I think is going to be in the best interests of my subscribers. I don't ever have to put a marketing decision before you, and I never ever will, which is why I held my ground with my publisher, and I said, look, my readers are smart. I'm fairly good at explaining complicated things, and I want to put my readers in, at least give them the opportunity for them to make their own decision about whether this is something that they want to buy or not. And so I started recommending these income coins. Now, John, do you think the media was talking about crypto income in early 2018?
They were not.
They didn't even know what it was. They spent that whole year bashing crypto. Take a look at some of these headlines. Here's what Forbes wrote. Bitcoin is dead. The recent precipitous drop may be the beginning of its inevitable and inexorable death spiral.
Gosh.
Vanguard's chief economist said there was a decent probability of Bitcoin going to zero. Nouriel Roubini, right, Dr. Doom, the famous economist, he said the same thing. He said Bitcoin will crash to zero. Do you know how many times the media said Bitcoin was dead? Just in 2018 alone. 90 times.
90 times?
90 times.
That's what they were saying, that crypto was dead. It was over. But let me guess. Let me just guess here. Based on what you've said, Wall Street was buying it, weren't they?
They were embracing crypto like we had never seen before. And that's what I was paying attention to. You see, John, in late 2018, Fidelity Investments, guess what? They start offering crypto custody services for their biggest accounts. They start offering crypto trading, not for their individuals, but for their hedge funds and for the family offices. So this was the 800-pound gorilla in the space, right? It doesn't get much bigger than these guys. They've got almost 10 trillion in assets under management. So once they got involved, right, think about the greed cycle and how that works. Do you think the rest of Wall Street was just going to sit there and let them take that whole market?
You know what I think they were thinking? They were probably thinking, look, if Fidelity is getting involved, we got to get involved too.
Exactly. Wall Street is greedy. They would never let another of their competitors dominate a new and highly profitable market like crypto. So everyone on Wall Street got involved for the first time ever. pension funds started to invest directly in Bitcoin. Goldman Sachs started offering Bitcoin trading to its customers. Even JP Morgan, who has been on record hating crypto, and the New York Stock Exchange launched Bitcoin futures products. So take a look at what happened in 2018. We started to see billions of new dollars come into the market. So when I saw all of this money coming in, I went on camera and I predicted that these income coins would be crypto's second wave, this next hot trend in crypto. I actually asked our production team to dig up one of the clips from back then. So let's check that out.
Now, here's the thing, Fernando. Apple pays just over 1%, but there are 48 cryptocurrencies right now that are paying over 17%. They're distributing literally millions of dollars per week. People are collecting this money, and now is the right time for you to as well, before we see that next run-up. Because these run-up moves, they happen quickly. But if you remember 2017, you know, when the FOMO kicks in this market, which is the fear of missing out, when the bulls start running, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this window of opportunity is still open. I don't know how long it's going to last.
It's so amazing. I mean, so even though the media was saying, look, crypto is dead, you predicted these income coins were actually about to explode higher. You got to admit, that's brave. That's bold, Tika.
You know, I don't know if I don't really have a public embarrassment gene. So
Clearly.
Right. So if I think something made sense, I'm just going to say, look, this makes sense. Smart money is adopting this. This is something you should buy. If you really care about changing your financial lifestyle and doing it in a way that's not going to derail what you're already doing, you've got to know about this opportunity. Now, here's what I did know. I knew we only had a small window of opportunity to act. So I started making a series of new recommendations built around these coins that pay automatic income. One of the first coins I recommended was solving this real world problem. It was allowing people to exchange anything of value on the blockchain. So look, while the media was bashing crypto, JP Morgan, Amazon, and Microsoft were actually partnering with the same blockchain project I recommended to my readers.
Okay, so the media wanted you to believe this was all just a fad, but this was a real project with real value, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There should be a chart coming up on the screen. Take a look. I recommended it to my readers here on March 16th. Watch what happened next. Anyone who listened to me had a chance to turn $1,000 into a little more than $42,000, 42 times your money in under 2 years. Now, on top of those capital gains, they also had a chance to collect automatic payouts of a little over $5,000.
Okay, slow down. They had a chance to make 42 times their money in capital gains, plus 5 times their money in income. So 47 times their money in total.
Right, 47 times your money in 2 years. Right, take a look at this other one. It was trading for under a penny. No one was talking about it, but I knew this coin had potential. It was solving a huge problem. It was using blockchain to increase privacy in smart devices like home cameras, which were exploding at that time. And it came with these automatic payouts. And so I recommended it to some of my readers in 2019. Anyone who followed that recommendation had a chance to turn $1,000 into almost $55,000. On top of that, they also had the chance to collect almost $9,000 in automatic payouts. I mean, it's incredible, right?
It's incredible. That is 9 times your money from the income alone, plus 55 times your money from capital gains. So it's weird to say it, but it's actually like getting paid $9,000 to make $55,000.
Okay, so I'm glad you put it that way. So think about how insane that sounds, even now, today, and how insane that must have sounded back then, right? If I tell you, hey guys, there's a new crypto trend that can pay you 9 times your money just to hold the coin while you're waiting to make 55 times your money. You know, people don't have a frame of reference for that. No one's talking about it on TV. There's nowhere where you can read about it outside of my research. How many people do you think would believe me?
Tori, you're being irresponsible again.
Right?
It does, in all fairness, it does sound too good to be true.
Right, it does. But the beauty of these trends is that you can say, okay, this sounds too good to be true. I'm going to suspend my disbelief. I'm going to put $500 into it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put $250 into it. I'm going to put $1,000 into it. And you just at least give it a chance, because it can transform your life in a way that nothing else can. And in all my years on Wall Street, what I have seen is it's the people that get into the new trends early are the ones that make the most amount of money. But the problem is, when you have new trends, most people dismiss them as fads. They think this can't be real, and so they move on with their lives. And what happens? They miss the opportunity, just like they missed the first wave, and then they miss the second wave. I can't blame people, John,
Right.
because it's just human nature. And again, most people probably missed this next recommendation that I made. Take a look at this one. It was trading for just 13 cents. I believe it had potential because it was trying to facilitate cross-border retail transactions. So take a look at what I wrote to some of my readers. I said, and I quote, "Getting into this asset is a decision you'll look back on as one that transformed your financial life forever." Huge, bold statement, right,
Yeah,
John?
big. That's
Okay,
huge.
Right now, I'm sure people read that and was like, okay, Tawari,
Right.
please get off your hype train soapbox.
Right.
I'm just sick of it. Please just stop. I get it, well, if people thought that. But look at what happened next. Had you put just $1,000 into it, nothing crazy, $1,000, it would have turned into $715,000.
Think about that. Just think about that. That is another nest egg right there.
Right, and that's just the capital gains. On top of those capital gains, you could have collected as much as $143,000 in income.
So when you combine the capital gains with the income, you're talking about what more than $850,000. You're essentially building an entire nest egg with just $1,000.
Right, with just $1,000. Now, can I guarantee that's going to happen every time? No. But when you put yourself in the position of a trend early enough and you use rational position sizing, wild things can happen. That's the beauty of these crypto waves. You can close the gap between where you are now, where you want to be, faster than any other asset in the history of finance. We are living through history right now, John. And most people, unfortunately, are going to look back and be like, oh, wow, this bold Tawari fella, you get on camera screaming and gesticulating like a lunatic, and I never took him seriously. But oh my goodness, this guy could have changed my life. That's right. And we can do it in a way that doesn't hurt you financially. Say you put $1,000 into this thing and it ended up going to zero. Would it ruin you financially? Would your spouse sue you for divorce? Would it make you jump out of a window?
No, it's $1,000. You can get it back somehow.
Right, exactly. But what if that $1,000 turns into $850,000? And you take that money and you put it into a CD that pays 5.5%, and you're now collecting $50,000 every single year in passive income. You ask yourself that. How many gaps does that fill in a year for you? An extra 50 grand that no one else has any claim on.
See, now the money is working for you, It changes everything. You can say goodbye to all your petty money worries.
Correct. And that's why I said earlier that generational wealth is at stake here. The ability to change your life, your children's life, all the way down the line. Tell me, John, outside of these crypto waves, where else can you become wealthy in America off a handful of $1,000 investments?
I asked myself that very question, and the answer is nowhere.
You can't. There is no other asset that can come close to this. It's not possible. So, friends, if it's uncomfortable for you, I get it. And what I'm asking you to do is to lean into that uncomfortability, because you cannot make this type of money anywhere else. But if you can catch one of these crypto waves, if you can get in early when no one is talking about it, the truly insane, impossible idea of a lifetime of wealth, it becomes possible. It's not a guarantee, but it becomes possible.
You might know this. I've heard this saying that to be successful, you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So when you get in early, all bets are off. I mean, you love that. All bets are off. And I know that's true because, like I mentioned before, I met some of your readers who took advantage of those past two waves. Folks, I have to share with you another clip. I want you to take a look at this.
I heard about Tika, who we fondly refer to as Baldy. I got an email, and I thought, I'll watch the webinar. So I started investing. The market was down and kept going lower. I do know that last October, our account was worth $1.6 million. How has it transformed my wife's and my life? We vacationed in Florida, put my mind at ease, and bought a place in Florida.
You know, Tika, if this coming third wave is anything like the previous two waves, it's going to be a complete game changer for a lot of folks who are watching us tonight. So let's do it. Let's talk about the third wave. You said it's a brand new trend, right?
Right. It's beginning right now. Very few people are familiar with it, just like in wave 1 and wave 2. So we're at the very early stages. So again, just like the first wave in 2016 and just like the second wave that was, 18, 19, this is so new that my team and I, we stumbled upon it really by sheer luck. You see, as part of our research, recently a member of my team flew to Austin, Texas to attend Consensus, which is the world's largest crypto conference. So when he got on the plane, he was all the way in the back of the bus, and he found himself sitting next to a crypto developer that's directly involved in this exciting new trend.
What are the odds of that? What are the odds?
Right.
So this was a big player in the industry.
It's a big player in the industry that also, liked to fly coach. So, right? He's a very wealthy guy, but
Who doesn't?
Us older guys. Right?
Yeah.
So I can't drop any names here, but I can tell you that this guy has played a key role in creating more than $219 billion in new wealth, including a project that gave my readers the chance to turn $1,000 into more than $500,000. So, what this guy has to say needs to be taken seriously. So during that flight, my analyst was in his ear. I've trained him well. He just grilled him nonstop about the latest trends in crypto. So we started digging into this new $100 trillion trend because to us, it sounded like, wow, here was our third wave opportunity. This was our next opportunity to really get ahead of the crowd.
So what exactly is this new crypto trend?
Okay, so let me give you a little context about it first before I get into it, and I will. So like I've been showing you, John, for years and years, Wall Street and the media have been bashing crypto. It's been consistent, right?
Right.
They wanted you to believe that crypto was a burning building, everyone was running from it. But behind the scenes, Wall Street has been running into this so-called burning building. They've been getting more and more involved in the space. Now, 2022 was no different. It was a terrible year for equities, but it was an awful year for crypto.
Yes, it was.
Awful year for crypto. Once again, the media was out saying it was the end of crypto. CNN literally published a headline saying, crypto is dead. Now, while everyone was distracted by the market volatility, guess what Wall Street was doing?
They were buying crypto.
They were buying crypto, baby, and not just buying it. In the middle of this bloodbath, Wall Street actually began to move part of their core business onto the blockchain. This thing which they had dismissed as a fad. Our research suggests that this next crypto trend will finally lead to a complete merger between traditional finance and the blockchain. Because now Wall Street is getting ready to move their financial assets and their trading activity to the blockchain. All of it. I'm talking about stocks, bonds, real estate, fine art, private equity, commodities, foreign currency, everything. It's a brand new trend. This third wave is a brand new trend called tokenization of real world assets. You're going to see this acronym thrown around, RWAs, real world assets. Friends, this is crypto's third wave. According to estimates, we could see $100 trillion worth of assets move onto the blockchain. That's why Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, said the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities.
All right. So So let me just see if I got this right. Okay. Wall Street is planning to turn all those assets into tokens that anyone can invest in?
Well, they've moved beyond the planning stage, John. It's already happening. So BlackRock already tokenized shares from its money market funds. Goldman has already started tokenizing U.S. Treasury bonds. Citibank is even tokenizing some of its deposits. So that's why I say this can even affect your checking and your savings account. Now, CoinDesk says tokenization may be ready for prime time. Wall Street is diving in, creating tokens for everything from buildings to gold bars.
Gosh, it sounds so exciting, but why would they do that, Tika? Why would Wall Street move its entire business to the blockchain?
Well, what's the one thing Wall Street cares more about anything else in the world?
Cha-ching.
Yeah,
Money.
Not peace on earth, money.
Right.
So there's a lot of frictional costs in the traditional financial system. When you move these assets to the blockchain, transaction costs drop dramatically. It's estimated that, let's say, just buying and selling securities, there's maybe $20 billion of frictional costs associated with that you can completely eliminate by moving to the blockchain. So as the Wall Street Journal says, Wall Street's sophisticated trades are often run on creaky old systems. Many of these systems go back to the 60s and the 70s. They run on Fortran and COBOL and just ancient machines. So Goldman and others hope they'll be able to run faster, less costly, and ultimately more profitable systems based on blockchains. So I'll give you an example. Goldman recently sold $100 million in bonds for one of their clients. And normally, a bond sale like this settles in 5 days. That means the money is in this operational limbo for 5 days. And you're like, that's not a big deal. But John, $100 million in a money market that pays 5.5%, that's $75,000 in interest in just those 5 days.
And to put that in context, $75,000 is a good annual salary for most Americans.
Right. So for those banks, that's the real cost of having to wait 5 days. And that's just on $100 million. They trade trillions of dollars worth of assets each year. So instead of waiting 5 days with a blockchain, you can settle that bond trade in under an hour.
Okay, now I get it. By moving everything to the blockchain, Wall Street will just simply make more money.
They make a lot more money. That's why BlackRock, Fidelity, Citibank, Goldman, JP Morgan, BNY Mellon, the royalty of Wall Street are all getting involved. Even the Federal Reserve Bank of New York is getting involved. Now, here's where the opportunity comes in for us, John. These incumbent financial institutions are not going to rebuild the capital markets themselves. They don't have the expertise for that. It's not their core business. They're going to have to collaborate and use existing blockchain technology platforms. And that's where we come in. I'll say this right now. There's no one on this planet that puts out better research in this space than we do, period. We have 7 years of institutional knowledge of how to pick ideas in this space. And after months of research, my team and I have found what we believe will be the top 5 projects that will benefit from this $100 trillion trend.
And here's the question. These are 5 coins that anyone can invest in, and they're directly involved in this trend?
Exactly.
Okay.
These projects are literally building the infrastructure that will pave the way for this tokenization trend. Anyone can buy these coins. They can take a direct stake in this massive new trend. And that's why I put all of the details of these 5 coins inside a brand new report called 5 Coins for the $100 trillion tokenization trend. And I'm going to make this report available to everyone here tonight because we don't have much time. These coins are dirt cheap right now. But in my opinion, they won't remain cheap for much longer. Just like in the first wave, just like in the second wave, this third wave has a huge catalyst attached to it that will happen, I believe, by the end of this year. And I think it'll set this trend on fire. And anyone who blinks, procrastinates, just like on wave 1 and just like on wave 2, they're going to be crying.
Well, I'm actually glad that you brought up that catalyst. And we're going to talk more about that report and those 5 coins in just a moment. But first, let's talk about that catalyst. Now, you mentioned that some big names are launching a new crypto venture by the end of the year. What's happening exactly?
Okay, so remember I talked to you about the royalty of Wall Street. Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Sequoia Capital, Citadel Securities. They are getting ready to launch a new crypto clearinghouse. So they said they're flipping the switch by the end of the year, but that could happen literally any day. Tomorrow morning it could happen. This is a big deal because this is going to be an institutional grade trading desk that all of Wall Street will be able to use. Now, think about it, John. You trust your friends more than you would trust strangers, correct?
Of course.
So it's the same thing with Wall Street. They work with counterparties at Fidelity, Citadel, Charles Schwab every single day. So if you're a bank, you're a brokerage, you're a big financial institution, you're not going to work with some rinky-dink offshore exchange, right?
Right.
There's no way. And the current exchanges that are available right now, it's like being stuck using a narrow bicycle path. There are just very few deeply trusted places that have enough liquidity that allow you to easily transact in and out of crypto. And these guys putting this new crypto clearinghouse together, they get that. It will be the equivalent of opening a 16-lane superhighway for these massive semi-trucks full of institutional cash to get in and out of crypto.
So what you're saying is that this new crypto venture will help open the gates to Wall Street.
Right. It's a club for Wall Street, built by Wall Street. It's the next stage of the merger between Wall Street and the blockchain. Friends, hear me when I tell you this. This event can only happen one time. I'll make you one guarantee tonight. If you wait, if you procrastinate, you will be left out. Like I showed you today, all of the biggest players on Wall Street have starting to move their assets to the blockchain. This is the largest trend blockchain has ever seen. It's a $100 trillion trend. But do you think they're waiting for you? They're going to give you research on this, that they're going to open the door, roll out the red carpet, and give you a martini and a kiss on both cheeks and welcome you with open arms? No, they don't want you a part of this. That's why no one is talking about it. Wall Street is greedy to a level that you can't understand. They want to keep every cent of profit to themselves. My job tonight is simple. It's to help you get your piece of the pie, and that's only possible if you act now. Because I believe once they flip the switch on this new clearinghouse, we will see a tidal wave of money move into this space unlike we have ever seen before. And these coins I'm recommending, based on my research, will skyrocket well past our buy up to prices. And it'll be too late for you to get in again. Another profit wave will have passed you by again. Wall Street can only tokenize their assets one time. That means this is your only shot. If you miss it, you'll never, ever have the opportunity to rise that tokenization trend ever again.
Folks, you heard him. You heard Tika. This report, 5 coins for the $100 trillion tokenization trend, is ready to go. You can claim it right now, but it's only available to members of Palm Beach Pioneer. So tonight, we're opening the doors to Tika's only service that focuses on these types of opportunities. Tika, by the way, why do you call this service Palm Beach Pioneer? Can you talk a little bit more about this?
Sure. We call it Pioneer because we're just at the beginning of this new crypto wave. So in this service, we focus on blockchain projects that are building the infrastructure, the building blocks necessary for this merger between Wall Street and the blockchain. And it gets even bigger than that because these projects are actually building the infrastructure for an entirely new internet that's based on blockchain applications. And so I don't want to get too into the weeds, but I think it's important to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So this is a massive trend, and it's so big that I realized I needed a partner on this. So I partnered with the man that I believe is the #1 expert in this space. His name is Graham Friedman. It's my opinion this gentleman knows more about this special subset of crypto than anyone on the planet. He's what's known in crypto as an OG. He was literally buying Bitcoin for pennies back in 2010. He saw the light far earlier than I did. He's enormously talented at picking winning cryptos and making huge gains. Things like 27,738%, 33,483%, and even 74,222%. Life-changing gains. So he's now the head of venture at Republic Crypto. They're a leading advisory firm that counsels some of the most powerful people and institutions in the world on where to invest their money in crypto. So I'm talking about one of the world's largest sovereign funds that has close to $1 trillion in assets, billionaire sheikhs from the Middle East, governments, even a FANG company. So this man rubs shoulders with famous VCs, people like billionaire Mike Novogratz. You literally cannot get access to Graham's thoughts on the best crypto investments unless your wallet is the size of Texas or you have a subscription to Palm Beach Pioneer.
So this guy, Graham, he's part of your team?
Well, he's my right-hand man on this project, and together we've selected the top 5 coins for this new $100 trillion trend. So I'll give you an example. One of these projects is helping Wall Street tokenize US treasuries. Another one is working on making sure these assets can't be hacked. So all of these big Wall Street banks can potentially end up using this blockchain project for security reasons. Another one is helping Wall Street move derivatives like options to the blockchain. So let's take a look at the derivatives market. That alone is a $20 trillion opportunity. So we're incredibly excited about this project. And John, I'll bet all of my money that virtually no one watching here tonight has heard of any of these projects. There's very little information about them online. And that's why we put this new report together. Now, friends, I know right now, everyone is worried about inflation. Everyone is worried about the conflict in the Middle East, the 2024 election, the war in Ukraine. But I'll tell you this, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, the world that we live in will look radically different. Everyone will forget about the chaos that we're in right now, and they'll look back and they'll say, my good Lord, how did I not see it? How did I not see that Wall Street was moving its entire business to the blockchain? I don't want you in that boat. I want you in a different boat. I want you in the boat that says, we saw it, we took advantage of it, and we made massive profits. And we did it without risking our current lifestyle. I would never, ever suggest you risk your current lifestyle and invest your mortgage money, your kids' college fund into these ideas. That's dumb. Don't do it. I'm simply recommending that you take a handful of uniform, small positions across these different ideas. If you do that the same way that we did in crypto's first wave and second wave, I believe that you will have a chance to transform your finances in a way that you cannot even imagine right now. Again, let me be very clear. I'm not asking you to take 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 and put it into crypto. That's insane. I'm saying put $500, $1,000 into each of these ideas, just like some of my readers did in the past 2 waves. They were able to turn those small stakes into massive 6 and even 7-figure nest eggs.
Well, folks, you can claim this report, 5 coins for the $100 trillion tokenization trend, right now. You'll gain access to that report the moment you join Palm Beach Pioneer. And these 5 coins are just the beginning. Like Tika mentioned, we're at the first inning of this massive trend. So you can expect a new recommendation every month on average. And if you're a newbie or you don't know anything about cryptos, don't worry. Tika and his team set up an entire crypto course that covers everything from how to set up an account to how to buy, store, and trade crypto. Thanks to this educational resource, Tika has been able to help grandparents, stay-at-home parents, farmers, grade school teachers, and everyday people who have zero crypto knowledge to get started. This course is yours, free, when you join today. Now, before I show you how to join Palm Beach Pioneer, I want to play one more clip. You have to see this. Check this out.
Tika Tiwari. I started investing with him in 2016. From when I started, I invested about $25,000 and my portfolio is like $2.2 million. It's not like that you have to have $500,000 to start with. I started with a couple $1,000s.
That's Ben. one of Tika's readers. Now, I'm sure if I asked him if he would have paid $50,000 for a subscription to Tika's research, he would have said sure. But here's the good news for you. Membership to Palm Beach Pioneer won't cost anywhere near that. The retail price for 1 year is $5,000. That means for 2 years, you'd normally have to pay $10,000. But today, you can claim 2 years of access for just $2,000. That is a massive discount you'll likely never see again. In fact, this is only available tonight. Tika's publisher could shut this offer down at any moment. And what that means is if you close this page, turn off your computer, you go to bed, you come back tomorrow, you might have to pay the full price of $10,000 for 2 years. So go ahead, click the button that you see on your screen to get started. And you'll be amongst the first ones to get your hands on this report. 5 coins for the $100 trillion tokenization trend. And you'll get the names of all the coins, including the pick Tika will reveal in just a moment. So you're going to be able to act on that recommendation before he reveals it to everyone here tonight. Folks, I want you to take another look at Tika's past recommendations during the last 2 waves. Now, as we showed you here today, if you look across his services, Tika already gave folks a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $160,000, $367,000, $534,000, $851,000, and even $1.5 million. Now, if you missed out on those past 2 waves, you now have another chance, possibly your last chance. Crypto's 3rd wave is just getting started. So go ahead, click on that button that says join now. And don't worry, you get to keep watching the broadcast and our Q&A because when you click on that button, it opens up a separate page. And in that separate page, you can see all the details of this offer one last time before you join. And by the way, you're also going to be protected by Tika's 90-day satisfaction guarantee. And what that means is if you're not 100% happy and you contact us within the first 90 days, you're going to get a full credit refund, good for any product we or our partners publish. Now, if you prefer to talk to someone, you can also call the phone number on your screen right now. But I got to warn you, every time we do an event like this with Tika, the lines get super busy. So you might be on hold for a little while. The fastest, easiest way for you to join is by clicking on that button. As a member, you'll also get access to a bonus report called Palm Beach Pioneer Manifesto, which tells you everything you need to know about Tika's strategy, and another special tax strategy report, where Tika and his team will show you how you could save up to $300,000 in tax for each $1 million that you make in crypto. It's all yours free when you join today. As Tika showed you today, most people missed out on crypto's first wave because they listened to the media and they thought that altcoins were just a fad. Then they had a second chance with another massive wave of profits with these coins that pay automatic payouts. Again, it was a new trend and nobody was talking about it. Sounded too good to be true. So most people dismissed it as just another fad. Don't make that mistake again. If you missed out on the last 2 waves, you now have a 3rd and perhaps final chance to turn a small stake into generational wealth. Look, the way I see it, if you pass on this opportunity, you're essentially saying no to the chance to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. So if you haven't done so, go ahead, click on that button to get started. All right, with all that now said, let's get into our Q&A. Let me grab the iPad from our producer, Shelby. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You like these Q&As, don't you?
I love them, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, here we go. Here's the first question. This is interesting. How is Palm Beach Pioneer different from your other research services like Palm Beach Confidential, Palm Beach Crypto Income, or Crypto Trader?
Well, as crypto as an asset class has grown from about 3 billion to as much as 1.5 trillion, it's about $1 trillion now, new strategies have emerged as to how to profit from that growth. So each of my different services focuses on a primary strategy. So Palm Beach Pioneer is the only service where we focus exclusively on this subset of cryptos that are developing this next iteration of the internet, where you're seeing that kind of merging of what we call the real world and blockchain. So some people call it Web 3.0. So I'm going to go into this in into the weeds a little bit here. Web 1.0 was the first version of the internet where people were just consuming mostly text-based content, right? You remember that in the 90s, there just wasn't much interaction because you didn't have bandwidth. Web 2.0 was the internet where you had much more interaction between users, you had social media, and it just exploded web usage. So Web 3.0 is the next iteration of the internet. It's a decentralized internet that is built on the blockchain.
Okay, a lot of words there. Slow down.
Did I go too deep into the weeds?
Yeah, for me, anyway.
Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so today's internet is centralized, and it's controlled and operated by a handful of mega corporations like Facebook, Google, and Amazon. In Web 3.0, there's going to be no central gatekeeper or authority in charge. So users can transact and interact directly without third-party intervention. And in this new version of the internet, you're not just able to send data to people, but you can send anything of value through this tokenization trend, all with the click of a mouse. And again, you don't need to go through a third party like a Facebook or a Google or somebody like that. Anyone can use Web3 technology to make a loan, borrow money, transfer real estate, even trade fractions of the value of anything that has value, like a famous painting or a card collection. This is essentially what I call an ownership economy. So when you own a piece of one of these protocols that facilitate this type of value transfer, it's almost like being able to get a tiny a royalty every time somebody sends an email or somebody receives money or somebody makes a purchase online. Because every time these underlying protocols are used, the protocol itself becomes a little bit more valuable. And so this is what I mean when I talk about this ownership economy. So in this case, with Web3, you own the infrastructure, at least a piece of the infrastructure that underlies this new crypto internet. And these are the kinds of possibilities that are being opened up by Web3. It's a new kind of ownership economy. It's never been possible before, where the profits are coming from a digitally owned infrastructure and they pass directly to you as a partial owner of this infrastructure with no intermediary. So this is a long way of explaining that Palm Beach Pioneer focuses on all of the top blockchain projects that are building this next iteration of the internet. And tokenization of real world assets is an enormous component of that.
So the coverage that you do in Palm Beach Pioneer is completely different than what you do in your other services.
Right. So for example, Palm Beach Crypto Income only focuses on cryptos that have automatic payouts.
Right.
In Crypto Trader, we use a very short-term strategy where we attempt to take profits in 60 days or less, and we use a patent-pending AI that helps us narrow down those trades. And in Palm Beach Confidential, we're looking for tiny projects that have the potential to grow exponentially. So each of these services has its own strategy, model portfolio, and specific niche. Now, friends, if you're already a member of one of those services, I strongly urge you to get involved with Palm Beach Pioneer, because there might be a little bit of overlap from time to time here and there, but it's very rare. For the most part, everything that we're talking about in Palm Beach Pioneer will be very, very different from what we talk about in our other crypto newsletters.
Is it safe to say the world is changing?
Dramatically.
I'm so glad you're here. I really am. All right, here's another question for you, Tika. And this was a common one. How do you know for sure that now is the bottom? Wouldn't it be better just to wait a bit more?
Well, in March 2023, I sent a video to my readers telling them to buy Bitcoin if it dipped below 20K. I thought it wouldn't go much lower than that. So on that same day I put that video out, Bitcoin bottomed at 19,000 and change. Since that video, Bitcoin has gone straight up. And that's despite all of the uncertainties that we have in the world right now. Inflation, 2 different wars. Bitcoin just made new highs for the year. I believe we've seen the bottom in the crypto market. I've never been more bullish than I am right now. Why? Because we're just coming out of this brutal correction. So a lot of altcoins are dirt cheap. I don't think I'm ever going to have another opportunity to come in front of everyone like I am today, because we're now exiting the bear market and we've entered crypto's third wave. If you look forward, I just see an ocean of good news for crypto. In 2024, I believe the SEC will finally approve a Bitcoin ETF. We have the Bitcoin halving that's coming up in April. That's always wildly bullish. But most important, we have this new clearinghouse that institutional investors will have an easy way to buy cryptos from people they trust, their counterparts that they came up on Wall Street with. So, and then on top of all of that, you have Wall Street is now moving their business to the blockchain. John, you could not have imagined a more perfect series of scenarios that support higher prices than what we are seeing right now.
When I hear you talk, I'm thinking we should not wait.
I'm going to say this again to everybody at home. Friends, please hear me when I tell you this. Just like I said in the wave 1, just like I said in wave 2. And both of those times, we were just coming out of a bear market and sentiment was bad. If you wait until you feel emotionally comfortable to get into this space, you will not make the kind of money that we have been talking about tonight. In 2016, during that first crypto wave, I told my readers, don't wait. If you wait until you're comfortable, you're not going to make money. I've said buy now. Back then, Ethereum was trading at 9. Today, it trades for over 2,000. It's been as high as almost 5,000. Those who waited were left out. In my opinion, you're never going to see $9 Ethereum again. So that opportunity is gone forever. When we had the second wave with crypto income, I showed you a video from early in 2018 when I was telling my readers, buy, buy, buy. And I said, get in now, because once the bull market starts, things will get crazy. Again, those who were uncomfortable, those who weren't sure, those who waited, they were left out. They missed a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $850,000. I'm here tonight because I believe history is going to repeat itself again with this third wave. Wall Street, they're not waiting because they know things are about to get wild. That's why BlackRock, Fidelity, Citibank, Goldman, JP Morgan, BNY Mellon, they're all getting involved. This is the creme de la creme of Wall Street. In fact, a recent survey showed that 97% of institutional investors believe tokenization will revolutionize asset management. Do you want to be in the 3% that disagrees with them, or the 97% that are not waiting, that are the smart money? I want you to really think about that. I want you to think about all the failures that we've seen over the last few years, the frauds, FTC going bankrupt, Sam Bankman-Fried probably going to jail forever, the crypto crashes, all the times the media said crypto was dead. The big players on Wall Street, the institutional investors with deep pockets, they have had 1,000,000 good reasons to abandon crypto, and they haven't. They haven't. Ponder that. Instead, they're moving their businesses to the blockchain. And that, more than anything I can tell you tonight, should tell you everything you need to know about this trend.
Folks, you heard Tika. Wall Street is not waiting. If you wait, you'll be left out. So click that button to get started if you haven't done so already. And remember, the crypto market is open 24/7. That means once you get your hands on this report, you'll be able to buy these coins right away. You could be in all these trades in just a few minutes from now. All right, Tika, here's another question for you. Tika, what if I don't have a lot of money to invest? How much do I need to get started?
Well, that's the beauty about crypto is you don't need to invest a lot to potentially make a lot. You know, my recommendation has been the same since 2016. I recommend you put $200 to $400 into each idea if you're a smaller investor. You can put $500 to $1,000 into each idea if you're a larger investor. So there's no need to bet the farm on these ideas. This is how you set yourself up for massive gains. It's how you deal with the volatility, which is insane in this space. There's going to be times when you're up 100% and down 85%. That's just the nature of this asset. And so by using these small uniform positions, you can participate without putting your current lifestyle at risk. And again, another point is we recommend putting the same amount of money into each idea. This is called uniform position sizing because not every idea goes up, right? Of course not. But if you follow our uniform position sizing, if you don't go hog wild on any one idea, here's what it does for you. It means that you don't over-own a loser and you don't under-own a winner. And that approach has worked like magic since 2016.
It sure does make it simple. Folks, earlier I mentioned that one of Tika's readers took a handful of $100 investments and turned it into $1 million. I actually have an email from that reader, and I want to put that on the screen right now. Listen to what Rick said, because he followed Tika's strategy to a T. I started with $100 on each crypto. And then about 2.5 years ago, the account went over $1 million. I trust you with my family's future. You've proven that a real beginner can achieve real wealth. Thanks very much for your services. Now, by his own admission, Rick was a newbie, and he became a millionaire investing only $100 in each of the cryptos that Tika recommended at that time. So as you can see, you don't need to invest a lot. And remember, if you're a newbie like Rick, that's not a problem. Because once you become a member, you'll also gain access to Tika's crypto course, and that's 100% free. That will get you started in no time. So regardless of your crypto experience, you'll be able to follow all of Tika's recommendations. So click on that button to get started because we're running out of time here. All right, Tika, here we go. You promised that you'd give away the name of a coin that's involved in this massive trend. They can't wait any longer. I can't wait any longer. Can you cover that now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I first recommended this coin to my readers in 2019, and anyone who listened to me is already sitting on gains of over 1,000%. But again, like most cryptos, it went through a big correction in 2022. So this recent correction is giving us a fantastic entry point because I believe the coin's going much, much higher. Now, the name of the coin is called Chainlink, and the ticker symbol is LINK. This is a phenomenal project. This project specializes in connecting data to blockchains and connecting blockchains to each other in a very secure fashion. So what they do is not dissimilar to what Cisco did for the internet, linking websites via routers that share a common knowledge that can be trusted among each router. So last month, Global Financial Messaging System, SWIFT, which is the largest money mover in the world, it's how banks move money, announced that they use Chainlink to transfer value across multiple public and private networks.
Wow.
Now, this is a huge deal. SWIFT works with 11,000 institutions. They facilitate $150 trillion in transactions each year. So I believe Chainlink could become the go-to solution for connecting the biggest banks in the world to make payments both faster and cheaper. And that is going to play a key role in this tokenization of assets.
Wow, that's generous stuff right there. Folks, write that down. Tika's free pick is Chainlink, and the ticker is LINK, L-I-N-K. Tika, I want to thank you for your time today. I think we all learned a lot. I know I certainly did about this new trend that's coming in that's life-changing. Do you have any last words?
Yeah, friends, I'm going to keep it very simple. I've been doing these videos for a long time. I only come here in front of you when it makes sense. For the first 6 months of this year, I didn't do any of these videos because it didn't make sense. Not everything had lined up. When things started to line up, I called my marketing department and I said, look, get me in front of the camera. Things are starting to change. Things are starting to heat up. I need to talk about crypto again. I'm here tonight because now is the time to take action. Very often, I don't come in front of these cameras when my marketing department wants me to come in front of these cameras, because they want me to come in front of these cameras when everything is up 300, 400, 500, and 1,000%. That's generally the time when we're starting to take profits in our newsletters.
So why am I going to come in front of the camera and tell you to come buy crypto when we're taking profits in our newsletters? It just doesn't make any sense. I'm going to come to you when it makes the most amount of sense. Now, I get there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. Are we going to have a recession? Is inflation going to come back? Is this conflict in the Middle East going to get worse? Is the conflict in Ukraine going to get worse? What's going to happen with the election? I don't have answers for any of those things tonight, but I can tell you none of those things have anything to do with crypto's third wave and the tokenization of real world assets. Nothing. What I can tell you is that an ocean of money is about to come into this space. And I've identified what I believe are the top 5 projects that are going to capture enormous amounts of that money. I've identified what I believe 5 coins that can radically increase in value. And I've identified what I believe is a way to own these coins in a way that's not going to put your current lifestyle at risk. So the decision that you have to make is, have I got lucky for the last 7 years, or do I actually know what I'm talking about? The other decision you have to make is, am I prepared to just sit and watch another handful of trades go by that I don't participate in that could potentially completely transform my financial life? Look, you're the only person that can answer that question. My job is to put the facts in front of you, put the research in front of you. I certainly hope that you join me, but if you don't, I get it. The outside influences are strong. What I'm asking you to do is do something different, because it's only when we do something different that we get different results. And so that different thing is to come join me. Take my service for a ride. See what we're doing different. Do something different. Don't go hog wild. You don't have to put a ton of money into each idea. Just a handful of small investments in these coins have the ability to change everything. So it's your decision. Do you want to do the same, or do you want to do something different? My hope is that you do something different. Thank you very much, friends, for being here tonight. And as I always like to say, I want you to always remember, let the game come to you.
Folks, what an event we just had with Tika. This tokenization trend really seems like a once-in-a-lifetime chance to turn a handful of $1,000 investments into generational wealth. So I want to do a quick recap before we wrap this up. As Tika showed us today, in 2016, the crypto innovation was altcoins. Now, most people thought those coins were just a scam. If you thought they were just some kind of magic internet money, I really can't blame you. Now, I didn't know Tika back then, and that's exactly what I thought. I wanted nothing to do with those altcoins because I thought it was all nonsense. Millions of Americans thought the same. And they ended up missing out on crypto's first massive wave of profits, but not Tika's readers. Once again, take a look at this. These are some of the best altcoins Tika recommended during that first crypto wave. His readers had a chance to turn $1,000 into a mind-blowing stack of cash. That is generational wealth right there. But again, most people miss that opportunity. Okay, now, let's fast forward to 2018, 2019. There was another crypto innovation. I'm talking about cryptos that pay automatic income. And they paid this income in crypto, not in US dollars. Got to admit, the first time I heard about this idea, I didn't believe it. The idea of getting paid just to hold a coin while you're waiting to make even more money, it sounded ridiculous to me. It sounded too good to be true. And remember, the entire time the media was telling us that Bitcoin was going to zero and cryptos were dead. So, like millions of Americans, I dismissed that idea. Millions of Americans missed the second massive wave of profits, but not Tika's readers. Even though his publisher advised him not to discuss that innovation with his readers, Tika recommended a series of these income coins, and his readers had a chance to turn $1,000 into as much as $42,000, $1,000 into as much as $55,000, and $1,000 into as much as $715,000, all while getting paid month after month after month. Well, when you combine the first and second waves, take a look at this. These are all the chances most folks missed during the last two crypto waves. Now, often in life, we don't get second chances, let alone third chances. We make mistakes and we just have to live with that regret for the rest of our lives. But here we are today. If you missed out on the past two waves, you now have another chance. This is your third and possibly your last chance. Don't make the same mistake again. Crypto's third wave is just getting started. So go ahead, click on that button that says Join Now. Or if you prefer, call the number that you see on your screen because, as Tika showed us today, this tokenization trend is only going to happen one time. If you blink, that's it. You'll be left out. Wall Street will walk away with all the profits for themselves. This could be your only shot to turn a handful of $1,000 investments into generational wealth. Today, we laid out all the facts to you. Now you just need to make a decision. I think you'd agree with me. If you do nothing, well, nothing will change in your life. But ask yourself, what if? What if these 5 coins that Tika's recommending go on to massive gains like it happened during the last two waves? How would that change your life? Look, we don't want you to miss this opportunity, which is why we're really offering you the lowest price you'll ever see. For 2 years of Palm Beach Pioneer, you'd normally have to pay $10,000. But today, you can claim 2 years of access for just $2,000. Now, look, maybe you're still not sure if Tika's research is worth that much money. And I understand that. During the last two waves, tens of thousands of Tika's readers had a chance to subscribe and get Tika's picks. And for whatever reason, most of them passed on the opportunity. But the few who did, the few who trusted Tika, well, let me just show you one more time that short clip of some of Tika's readers who took advantage of the first two waves. I want you to check this out. I think you'll agree these stories are mind-blowing. So let me ask you this. Would you pay $2,000 for a chance to make that kind of money? Only you can answer that. So go ahead, click on the link to get started. And remember, you'll be protected by our credit satisfaction guarantee. I certainly want to thank you for watching tonight. Good night, everyone.